Welcome back. As mentioned before, we've been talking to various consumers over the past few months about their perceptions of food production and safety. We got a wide variety of responses, but the next consumer interview probably best fits in the market segment that has lost trust with our food system. Let's join that conversation now. Susan, when you think about food safety, what comes to mind? What are you looking for as a consumer?
Organic, genetically modified foods. Basically those two components are...
Okay, in your mind, what makes those safe? When you think of the word organic, what makes that, how do you equate that to food safety?
It means there's not chemicals on it.
Okay. And what type of chemicals are you thinking of?
Pesticides, herbicides, poisons.
Okay.
Because if they poison the bugs, chances are they're poisoning us.
Okay. So what types of organic foods do you buy right now?
I buy organic vegetables, I buy organic meat, organic beef, organic chicken.
Okay. And a lot of people have said there's usually a premium for organic meat and produce. Are you finding that?
Well, if you buy it in the grocery store, I have found it to be quite pricey, but there are places that sell in bulk. I have friends close to town who order bulk food in, and it makes it much more reasonable.
Okay. Now, you mentioned part of your food safety equation was being GMO-free, is that right? So how does that relate to food safety for you?
Well, genetically modified foods, wow. So if something is genetically modified at its foundational level and we're eating that, that could mess with our foundational level. So that is a concern for me.
Okay, so if the product was something like broccoli, would you consume that?
If I knew it was genetically modified, no.
Do you eat that today?
Yes.
Okay, so that comes from cauliflower and Brussels sprouts merged together. Okay, quite some time ago. So would you consider that genetically modified?
Not necessarily.
Why so?
Genetically, when I tend to think of genetically modified, I tend to think more of foods that have been made by Monsanto.
Okay, so when you look at that, where do you get your information for your decisions?
Quite a bit on the internet. I have an app for my phone now that is called Boycott, and it actually will scan things and tell you if it's associated with Monsanto or if it's associated with foods that support, or conglomerations that support non-safe food practices.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's been a recent comment that we've served 3 billion meals with GMOs in them and nobody's died from it. How do you respond to that?
I think from the research I've done, it looks like there is effects of this that go far beyond what we know. I watched one documentary with a farmer where he fed genetically modified food to his cattle and they were getting sick and dying.
Okay. So you've mentioned the internet as a source, you mentioned this documentary. Why do you trust those sources? What is it that they are giving you for assurances that you trust them?
A lot of them are just normal farmers, normal people who've gone up in the court system against the big boys. They're just real people trying to share their stories, and it's not getting maybe necessarily the coverage that I think it deserves.
So what level of trust do you have with, let's say, the supermarket or the grocery store chain that's putting out information about products they have in their shelves? Do you have a very good level of comfort with that? Tell me about that.
I don't. No, I don't. I believe that even aspartame is in almost everything, and there is so much information that tells that promotes cancer, that is bad for us. Even the baby products, Johnson & Johnson, their stuff has carcinogenics in it for our babies. So when we go someplace and they offer us bad options, it's not easy to trust.
So who do you think in the food chain or the food supply chain is responsible for getting the proper information out to the consumer in your view?
I don't think they're responsible for that at all, or they're not holding up their responsibility. We have entrusted them with that. However, they have not held up their obligation, I don't believe, or their honor of what they're here to do. Not at all. Not at all.
Did you know that many food processing companies do third-party food quality audits?
No.
Okay, when I say a food quality audit, what do you think of? What comes to mind?
They're seeing if the ingredients they say are in it are in it.
Okay, is that an assurance program, do you think, or how do you feel about that? Is that part of food safety?
I wouldn't call that food safety. I think that we have to be responsible to have the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding as to what even the ingredients in things are.
Okay. What would be the top 3 places that you get your news from?
I would say probably the internet. And
Any specific sites that you go to?
YouTube is really easy. You can type in Monsanto and there'll be lots of stuff come up. Dr. McCullough is actually another really good one. Dr. Oz also covers huge, important issues about food, yes.
Okay. Are there any grocery store brands in Canada or banners that you trust more than others?
Not necessarily, no.
So all about the same level of trust.
Well, yeah. Maybe the organic stuff, but I even now, some of the marketing that I've heard about the organic stuff is that it's not necessarily GMO free or it's not whatever. So even if you are buying organic, there's different organic labels that mean different things. So,
And do you feel that that's still a safe food to eat then?
not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you look at the overall food safety concern, is that one of your main reasons that you make your buying decisions on food safety, or is it on price?
Food safety.
Food safety. What about food quality?
Like how fresh it is?
Whatever quality means to you.
Well, like I said, there is places that sell bulk organic food, and to me, when I can go and get organic food that came right from the farmer, it makes me happy. It makes me feel safe that I know it was made with care.
We'll take a quick commercial break and come back with more of this interview.